When you have departments like that, you can get walls that appear between the departments. They're not talking effectively, not communicating effectively.
It's a fantastic thing about our team that they feel comfortable and happy to raise those bits with us.
Everything they told me on the phone was like, awesome. And then just radio silence.
I think the issue was how they dealt with it, wasn't it? You know, mistakes happen. They didn't feel like they were taking any ownership of that or any appreciation of the stress level. As far as I'm aware, there's no apology from them.
Hi there, and welcome to the Leaky Bucket podcast. I'm your host, Ian Morgan, and this is the financial performance podcast for entrepreneurs looking to get a better understanding of their numbers, to plug the leaks in their business, and to move from surviving to thriving.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Leaky Bucket podcast. Sam, so thank you so much for joining me. Can't wait to get started and get through another set of progress and updates about what's been going on at MBS. The leak of the week for the current week is we collect our direct debits. I'm not sure if I can mention the provider. I won't mention the provider. There's a well-known provider that lots of people use, and we collect our direct debits via them. And unfortunately, this week, £25,000 worth of direct debits just didn't collect. And I just got a mass series of notifications that just said the customer has cancelled their mandate. And I was like, you get the odd random person who just cancels a mandate and you speak to them and go, oh yeah, I did it by accident, or actually, no, we don't want to be a client or whatever. But yeah, that level of volume of people just doesn't happen. So contacted the provider and raised it to them to go, what's going on thing. And they just basically, all we can see at the moment is that it seems to be everybody on that list is banks with Starling Bank, right? And so it's some kind of a communication issue between themselves and Starling. So everybody's with them. They'll look into it and they get it fixed, and they'll escalate it to a senior member of staff and get back to us. Time goes by and nobody responds. I think I was away at the time, and I think I mentioned it to you when I came back and just went, by the way, now we're in a position that we've got good cash flow within the business and good cash reserves. It was like, okay, it's not a massive issue at this moment, but yeah. I don't know, what was your thoughts? And I've said to you, by the way, we're £25 short at the minute.
I think it wasn't so much the money aspect of it, although obviously you want the money. But it wasn't so much the money aspect of it. It was more the fact of the impact. Was there any impact that this had on us or the clients? So the fact that the direct debits weren't collected, are we now going to have to go to those clients and explain that it wasn't collected, but now we're going to collect it on such and such date, or this is going to happen, or there be 2 payments that go out on the following months, or what hassle is this going to create for us and create for the clients off the back of it?
Yeah, I think by the time I'd spoken to you about it, already some of the admin team had messaged me and just gone, do I know what's going on? Because I've had a few messages from clients saying, says I've cancelled my mandate, but I haven't. My payments failed. Like, what's going on? And I'd already managed to speak with our provider, and they were able to offer a quick update. But yeah, in the end, it did end up with me having to do a manual intervention and go in and manually reprocess. I don't know how many people there were, 30, 35, I don't know, something like that. And go manually reprocess all of those. But yeah, it did take a few days, and I managed to get through to a senior person eventually through my sort of assisting with them. Yeah, who raised the complaint on our behalf. Because it was just like, yeah, like I get that mistakes happen, right? And the actual problem wasn't necessarily the issue. The more was the issue was to go, right, somebody's going to escalate this, and then just like silence.
Yeah, I think the issue was how they dealt with it, wasn't it? You know, mistakes happen. I think we're probably small fry, and it felt like that in that instance. It didn't feel like it was being dealt with quickly or with care for how this was affecting us. And I think even in the response of how we had to then do bits, the fact that you had to go in and manually sort everything, from my perspective, it didn't feel like the company were apologetic or cared about the fact that this was now time consuming and stressful for us for a service we pay them for. So regardless of them making a mistake and it being a mistake, which is completely understandable, it didn't feel like they were taking any ownership of that or any appreciation of the stress level and time this was now causing for us. And actually, even since it's all been fixed, there's been no, as far as I'm aware, there's no apology from them. Or so we would, if we made a mistake or something like that, we make sure we apologize. We might send a small token gift or something like that, kind of going, we see we fucked up sort of thing. It didn't feel like they gave two hoots as to what was happening at that point.
No, I think knowing with other goings on like particular companies got on, I feel like they're low at firefighting at the moment. And I think this is not the only issue they had. I don't think it was specific to our account. I think this was probably across multiple others. But yeah, I think, just having that time and that human decency to reach out and just apologize, which we've had in the conversation I had with that senior person, they did do that. But yeah, it's then basically gone, okay, just sorry, basically, was it? There's no, it just doesn't feel a great experience. Yeah, the problem is that there aren't many real proper competitors, so it feels a bit, you feel a bit tied in. You're like, but how's that a good option? Yeah.
In fairness, it has been the only issue we've had with them of that sort of scale. Anything else you get is very minor and dealt with quite quickly. I think in this instance, it happened to be a large issue, and it did cause us, although the cash reserves were there and things like that, it still caused stress and hassle in terms of communication to the clients that had been affected by it, team members' time being taken up rather than working on other bits because they're getting emails in or having to communicate back. Clients, they're firefighting as such on the elements, and then time taken up having to resolve it by manually doing things. And I think actually I get in the moment while that apologizing and bits like that is probably a bit hard because they're trying to deal with the situation, and actually that's more important in that moment. But retrospectively, after the incident, it would have been nice to have received some sort of thing of apology, even if they just sent a card through the post or whatever sort of thing, because actually it was our time that was taken up by that, ours and our team, and it cost us. It didn't cost them any money. Like, from our perspective, it didn't. It probably did in fixing the bits. It probably took them time and stuff in order to fix, but it wasn't our mistake, so it shouldn't have cost us anything.
Yeah, I think it was, for me, it was the fact that I saw the issue. I was going, I'm the account holder. I'm not sure how much the team can fix this. I need to make that call. When I made the call to them, everything they said to me on the phone managed to identify what the problem was. It was with a particular bank, and that they were going to raise it to somebody senior to be able to fix it. Everything they told me on the phone was like, awesome. And then just radio silence. And no, I can't see the payments coming back in. And thinking, the longer this gets left, the more difficult it is now to go to clients and go, oh, it's been 7 days since that failed, and now we're going to retry. It just felt like it needed dealing with swiftly. So when it was the following day and it still hadn't been resolved, I was like, I need to be in control here. That was my issue, was that the actions that were promised off the back of that didn't happen, and then it felt out of control.
Yes, there's two aspects to that, isn't there? So there's one aspect that could have been improved by it, and that's getting them to confirm back when you will receive a response by. So you've got some clear definition of exactly when you're expecting something, and then you know if the terms of that verbal agreement have been broken and when you can push for other bits, etc. And I think that's something that's been key in your character, that you, when somebody tells you something, for you, that's a given, that will happen because they've told you they're going to do that. Whereas for me, I like set dates. I don't take anybody at their word. So I would push for a date, but actually on this occasion, that could only be dealt with by you because it's your name on the account and they won't discuss with anybody else. So even myself as another company director, I can't get anywhere with it. So it has to be dealt with by you. And I think the bits to learn from that off the back, which is something you've worked on very hard over a period of time, actually, is to hold people to account more on bits. And I think there's probably been a lack of needing to do that on anything that resolves outside of our company as such. So on this occasion, that was one of the bits that we sort of said could have been improved by it to have had. This is when I expect to get a response by.
Moving on, Sam, we got the epic win of the week. Do you want to give a bit of an introduction as to what we've managed to do with our big win this current week?
Yeah, so we discussed briefly previously that we'd done a change in our strategic plan of how we were doing bits within the company. And we were able to put that across to the whole team on what we decided was happening, get their feedback on bits, because previously we'd only had the leadership team. And I think it so far it's been really successful. How do you feel about it at the moment?
Yeah, I think it was good getting that message out to the whole team. I think the bit that we've learned, I think, over going through like the different sort of numbers of staff, I think is probably the key element. Going through the different numbers over a period of time is that you end up with certain people who are those typically in our leadership team in the main, who want to have a voice, and want to be involved in that process and they understand they want to be involved in those decisions. And then you've got a series of people who, I don't want to say they don't care, because I don't think that's a fair reflection, but you've got a series of people who just like, look, I trust you guys, but tell me what I need to do. Yeah, I just want to be told. And I think we can probably all play those roles on occasions. But yeah, I think it was good to be able to get that message across the rest of the team and go, look, it's been a bit turbulent. This is where things are at, but this is what we're doing. We've got it. It's sorted. We're getting there. Yeah, I think that's my sort of thoughts on the whole situation.
Yeah, I think ultimately it's been a massive success so far, but we're not naive. There will be some niggly little issues as you go through, as there always is in business when you change anything or general business running day to day. So there will be some niggly little issues, but the reality is they are likely to be niggly little bits. The plan that we've put in place, all team members are behind it and feel that it's really good. That's not to say that they didn't raise some issues, and we looked at those and there was some adjustments that were made off the back of that, which is the fantastic thing about our team, that they feel comfortable and happy to raise those bits with us. They don't just sit there and go, okay, that's what we're doing now or whatever. They did raise some bits. We dealt with those. And off the back of it, we have a much better structure for how things are being done. It means that all team members get good progression.
Yeah, I think, it's a good setup. It feels more scalable. I think some conversations I had with some coaches over the last week have highlighted when you have departments like that, you can get walls, if you like, that appear between the departments. So let's take our VAT and bookkeeping department versus our accounts and tax department. It's not specific to our organization, but within organizations as a whole, you can end up with them not talking effectively and not communicating effectively. So I think what we were able to highlight from that was to go, actually, we've got the client relationship manager role, which is to make sure that everything's good and everything's out to the clients. We've got actually then your role as that like operations director was to make sure that there's effective communication happening between those departments, which is something we already highlighted, but we're just like, okay, somebody else is highlighting that as a key problem for larger organizations that they've worked in as well. So yeah, I think it's good to be on the ball and recognizing that could be a potential issue as we move forward. Peek behind the curtain. So this comes around every year. But yeah, I thought maybe a little bit of insight into an unusual circumstance, but one that probably provides some challenges for us each year.
Yeah. So, this week we've had both my mum's and Ian's mum's birthday, and they fall on the same day. Not only do they fall on the same day, they're exactly the same age. So most years it doesn't cause too much of an issue. We're able to work around it, sort of thing. But on days where both are working and we're working as well, it can be a little harder to fit in stuff if there's like meals out planned or birthday parties or general sort of get-togethers. It can be a little bit awkward working it out, particularly on special birthdays. So this year wasn't a special birthday, so it wasn't actually too awkward this year to fit in both on the same day, seeing them on their birthday, because we always make the effort to see close relatives on their actual birthday and do something for their birthday. So it wasn't actually too hard this year to sort out, but it definitely causes some logistical stress in the run up to it, because both are quite last minute for organizing anything. And it feels like if you're seeing one, you need to make sure you do the bits with the other one as well, because they're on exactly the same day, and obviously they're both our mums, sort of things. Yeah. Ian, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think I don't.
You're not as bothered about birthdays, are you? You sort of feel, doesn't really matter if you get to one and not the other, or...
Yeah, I don't feel that it needs necessarily be fairness. See who you want to see, and that's that. But I think I'm not too bothered about people seeing me on my birthday. My birthday's for me. I don't want to see anybody else. Yeah, so I get it in terms of not everybody else wants the same thing. But for me, yeah, I think a majority of the time it's like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a logistical nightmare. We'll leave it at that. I just go, it's a challenge and we make it work. The end. Because I'll only say something, it'll get me into trouble later. So we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Sam, is there a particular power move that you think you've got for the last week? Something you think that maybe, yeah, it just worked particularly well?
I think off the last week is our strategic plan and the way we've changed things, because I feel like we went through a period of time of it worked well what we had, but we knew it could be better. And because of the stress and hassle of changing it, because it's a big change, we stayed with the method we already had. And I think this forced us, by having somebody leave, that we needed to relook at it, and it gave us the opportunity to change that. So I think that's definitely got to be the power move of the week, because the team are all behind it. And that was my only bit that I wouldn't even say I was concerned about necessarily, but it was the only element challenge left to it, was to go to the wider team and not just the leadership team, and make sure that everybody was on board.
Yeah, I think because obviously our leadership team is relatively new, and certainly relatively new in terms of we're doing the strategic plans together first before we put it out to the wider team. I think it showed really the power of that. We were able within that leadership team to outline the issues, the challenges, the obstacles, overcome the majority of those. So if and when the team did raise any issues, we go, actually, we've already been through that. We've already thought of a plan. We have a backup plan. So we were able to be extremely confident. What we weren't doing was putting something out there for the first time and then go, oh, we don't know, which had happened on occasion in the past. I had things on the spot, whereas this was we, as a leadership team with more people there, you can bounce those ideas off each other a lot more, and people have different roles and different angles they look at things, different characters. So yeah, I think it was the strategic plan, but it also showed the strength of having that leadership team in place as well.
Yep, brilliant.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Leaky Bucket podcast. I'd love it if you could help spread the message by clicking subscribe and leaving a review. Also, please do reach out to me on LinkedIn and let me know your thoughts on this episode. You can also find more info and links in the show notes below. See you next time.